the Radio Forest Podcast.
Hi there.
Don, this is Forrest.
Hi there. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. How you feeling?
That's great.
American Boys, new album out. Sounds great. I love the guitar and the piano. Who's playing all these different instruments on this album? You got a lot of different sounds going on in a good way.
A lot of good guitar players. Mike Severs is on guitar. Jerry Kroon, I think, is playing drums, my drummer. Kerry Marks, I believe, who is the musical director for the Grand Ole Opry for about 20 years, as well as Johnny Cash's guitar player is playing also. I think the piano player is somebody that Mike Severs, who's my producer, also found. He may be Delbert McClinton's, but he is exactly what I wanted on that track, kind of stride gospel type piano.
You mentioned the Grand Ole Opry. You played there, right? Is that your first time?
On the Opry, yes. I'm not a country artist, so every now and then they have a guest spot. They gave me a nice lot of time, like, 12 or 14 minutes, which is a lot. But I have sold out the Ryman Auditorium a couple of years ago and played there again for some kind of a benefit. I can't remember what it was, but so, country music has always embraced me from the very, very beginning. Chet Atkins was a real supporter of mine. He always did Vincent in his shows. He was just a great friend and a great supporter. I knew, Cash and, of course, Roy Orbison I had a hit with later on with Crying. I made 2 albums in Nashville. The great Larry Butler, who produced all of the hits for Kenny Rogers, or a lot of them, The Gambler and all that stuff. Believers and Chain Lightning. Those were 2 of the best albums I ever made.
You did some banjo playing too, right?
Yes, I put banjo on some things. I used to be a studio banjo player, 5-string banjo player in the folk style. I was very, very, I was up on that back in those days. I don't really do it, but now and then I put it on an album.
What about being at the White House? Was that your first time there? And congratulations, that looked pretty cool.
Actually, the first time I was there was 25 years ago. The Clintons invited me to the White House for what they call the Founders Dinner, people who they thought had influenced the 20th century. So they were nice enough to invite me, and then I was on the Millennium Concert, which was a 3-hour concert, which had all sorts of first-class artists in America, produced by Quincy Jones. Sang American Pie in front of the Lincoln Memorial to 600,000 people.
Oh, wow.
As a part of that. That was 25 years ago. And then this one, the Bidens, I think, wanted me to the White House because the president of South Korea had sung American Pie to him, and he invited me to that, but I couldn't be there, and then invited me to another one that I couldn't be at, and so finally I was home. I was on the road all the time, so I couldn't do the others. But yeah, so that'll be 2 of those I've been to in my lifetime. It's really quite a lovely experience because they pull out all the stops, and you are in the White House, and it's the seat of power in the world, so it's a big deal.
Now, the new album, American Boys, in the song, you talk about some of these artists you were, mentioning with the Grand Ole Opry, and you've got a lot of connection to these guys, though. So
I do.
You mentioned Elvis; he covered your song. Yeah. That's amazing, right? That's cool. I mean, he is the king, obviously, and you're a big fan.
The thing about it is that let's face it, okay? I mean, I love the Stones, I love Mick Jagger, I love all those people. But there is nobody who comes near Elvis Presley. Nobody. He is bigger now than he ever was, and he was always the biggest thing that ever was. Let's face it, he was superhuman. He wasn't normal.
And he played your song. That's awesome.
Well, but it's even bigger than that, because I used to sit with my grandmother on the little steps in our house when I was 7 years old, and I'd listen to I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, or Blue Moon of Kentucky, and then when the later records come out, and my grandmother she was so sweet to me. She would say, "Oh, I love the way those boys sing behind him." And I looked up, they're the Jordanaires. So I go in the studio in 1978 in Nashville, there are the Jordanaires, and we make a big hit of Crying. And they're the Jordanaires. There's Elvis's band behind me.
Yeah.
And I'm having a number one record. And by that time, Elvis had just passed away. And the extent to which it was determined that he loved that song, And I Love You So, was only became apparent later on when every night he sang that song. He loved it, and he sang it every night, and he sang it better than anybody. As he did whenever. That's the thing you learn when you're a songwriter. You get somebody like that who has immense creative powers as an interpreter of other people's music. When you hear him do your song, you see all the ways that you could have done it better, and all the ways that you couldn't possibly do it as good, you know?
Wow, what a cool thing to hear your song in a different way that you never even thought about. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. He above all else, because he was a great singer.
And speaking of American Boys and connections, obviously for American Pie, you're forever tied to Buddy Holly. And I always wanted to ask you about that cover. It's so iconic of the era of music and the feeling, and a little bit of a political without being political. How did that come together with the thumb and American flag? Were there other ideas? How did that end up as the cover?
Well, that's the American Pie cover you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that was done by a fashion photographer. Again, this is all because of Alan Livingston. My first two albums, Tapestry and American Pie, the Tapestry album cover is a very famous blue cover of my face. And it's a very well-known cover. And that was Alan Livingston, because he ran Capitol Records. Then he found this fashion photographer named George Whiteman, and I'll never forget, I went to his house. Of course, California was new to me. I was an East Coast guy, you know, I love the sun. And here I go to this guy's house. He's a fashion photographer, right? And in front of it is this Silver Cloud Rolls Royce, okay? You know those things? Remember them?
Yeah, big old,
Silver Cloud?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. They were a real machine, okay? Let me tell you that right now. You walk in, and there he is, and he looked great. He had this shock of blonde, wavy hair, and he was handsome. And then all of a sudden, one of these most beautiful models you've ever seen comes, "Oh, Georgie," you know, goes over to him, puts his arms around him and kisses him, and he's sort of, "Okay, look, get lost. I have to work with this guy," you know, kind of thing. So this kind of guy. So he said, "Look, I'm going to paint your thumb." I said, "Okay, let's do it." So I just let him do what he wanted to do. And it was his idea entirely. And he said he put my thumb there, and he put the guitar down. I said, "Now stare down the guitar. See, the guitar is under my thumb. If you look very carefully."
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's on top of my guitar. And he's looking back at me. And nobody knows where those photographic sessions ended up. He took hundreds of photographs, and we only have two. Yeah.
So now, on the new album, you've got Thunderstorm Girl, Stone Cold Gangster, and Mexicali Gal. Yeah. Are those inspired by your wife? That's what I'm getting the hint of.
Mexicali Gal is about my girlfriend, Paris Dunn, who's Mexican.
I thought you guys were married. My apologies.
No, we're not married, but we're better than married. We're happy.
Better than married. Yeah.
I was married. That's why I'm with her.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that makes sense. So are the other songs?
We're not married.
Other songs too. So Mexicali Gal is definitely about Paris.
Oh yeah, Mexicali Gal is for my baby Paris, definitely.
What about Thunderstorm Girl and Stone Cold Gangster?
Oh, well, Stone Cold Gangster. It seems to me there's been a whole new breed of lady out there that I never confronted before, being a white boy from New Rochelle. You know, I never saw gangster girls before, but they're out there now, and I dig it, you know, and I just, I saw them in junior high school, I think. That was when they started to come around. But I had that in me for a long time. Thunderstorm Girl, man, a lot of that is Vipperman. That's his idea. I did the melody and some of the lyrics, but the title is his. And it's a fun song, and Kerry Marks plays guitar on that.
We're talking to Don McLean. Don, American Pie's got 731 million plays on Spotify, 25 million views on YouTube with the lyric video. It's just a couple of years old. Another 5 million for a live one. Do you see any money from that? People talk about how little these artists get for these online plays. Does that generate any revenue for you?
I wouldn't worry about artists if I were you. I wouldn't worry about artists. We shouldn't worry about artists. We should worry about cab drivers and teachers. Artists do just fine, okay? They do just fine. You know, believe me, I'm a very wealthy man, and I'm so thankful for my audience and for the way things worked out. But believe me, we should worry about our teachers and our nurses and, cab drivers and regular people that make everything operate. Who's going to get up on that bridge and fix it? Oh, gee, not me,
Don McLean's up there.
Bravery.
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks.
And you've got a children's book out. Tell me about that real quick.
That is called Vincent, and it's going to follow the American Pie, A Fable. And I'm going to have 5 of these out. And there's going to be an And I Love You So, a Castles in the Air, and a tapestry. And I won't go into how it's all going to, they're all going to fit together. Starting with American Pie, A Fable, which you can get on Amazon. And Vincent will come next, and that's a new little character. And then the American Pie, Donnie Boy, will come back in the last 3. And that's all because of Spencer Proffer. Spencer Proffer is a man who's behind a lot of different documentaries, and he was the one who thought of the idea of the documentary movie about American Pie, which I wasn't all too thrilled about. But as we went along, I said, okay, whatever, we'll see what happens. I loved it. He did it. He's behind that. Kurt Webster in Nashville has helped everything come together and been there and worked terribly hard on everything. So I have people, who work hard to make me look good.
He's got 13 brand new songs. It's called American Boys. It's Don McLean. And Don, a pleasure to talk to you today, man. I want to say thank you for calling and chatting with me.
Well, I enjoyed it. We'll do it again sometime.